Yo, what's up? I was watching Thomas Snowell. Well, I ain't watching him. I've seen him before on YouTube. I seen him before on TikTok, I think it was. But he was talking about I seen like a little clip, like they were saying blacks own white slaves, and I'm like, where? In what country? What country did black people own white slaves, and for what? Would you need the white slaves in North Dakota, where it's cold? You wouldn't need them in the South because they couldn't withstand the heat. You had white serfs, but those are not slaves, and their slavery did not last a lifetime. So these black people that own white slaves, they have white slave breeding farms where they lynching white slaves. But this shit don't make sense. See what they get a black person to get up there to say some stupid shit like that, and they always make slavery seem like it was a moral issue, but it was not moral. It was not a moral issue, it was an economical issue. So why did black people have white slaves? It wouldn't have been economical, it wouldn't have been an economical benefit. You're saying some stupid shit, man. What would you need white slaves for? For what? You don't need them in the heat to pick cotton, it'd be too hot. And like I said, those white slaves, their slavery didn't last a lifetime. Their children were not born slaves. Their grandchildren were not born slaves like black people. You was a slave, your grandchildren were slaves, you was a slave, your children was a slave, your grandchildren was a slave, their great-grandchildren was a slave. Slavery was inherited. And like they had the thing called the Meritorious Manumission. Meritorious Manumission means you could set a slave free. If you could set him free if he saved a white man's life, he invented something that will make a white man some money, or he snitched on a slave insurrection. That was called the Meritorious Manumission. And I heard something new saying they would only free one slave a year. I don't know how true that was. Meaning like that way that would compete a competitiveness against the slaves. Like I told you, if you and your, I'm changing the subject for a minute, but like I always said, like slavery, the slave master would tell that slave, if you watch that slave and make sure he don't be doing no lazy shit, I give you an extra chicken bone. And then he will say the same thing to the other slave. So you had the slaves watching each other, making sure nobody was cheating and shit. You watching me and I'm watching you, because we both think we're gonna get an extra chicken bone or some shit. I'm exaggerating about a chicken bone, but I'm just trying to use that as an example. But from what I understand, that's how the Meritorious Manumission went. They would let one slave free a year. I don't know how true that was, but I heard the Meritorious Manumission would set a slave free if he snitched on an insurrection, if he invented something that would make a white man some money, or he would save a white man's life, he would be set free. That was called the Meritorious Manumission. I don't know how I got off this subject from talking about white slaves and shit. But like I said, you had white serfs. And like I said, their slavery did not last a lifetime. And their slavery was not inherited from parent to child, like white slaves. But they got a black man to get up there and say it. But from what I understand, you had wealthy blacks owning black slaves. But I don't know about a wealthy black owning white slaves. I heard of wealthy blacks owning black slaves. But it is what it is. But people keep talking about, why we keep talking about slavery all the time. Slavery happened years ago. But the wealth that was inherited, the wealth was passed down from parent to child, and it was turned into insurance companies and banks and shit like that. And black people inherited poverty. Like I said, Republicans always brag about how they set the slaves free. They set them free with what? They set black slaves free with what? They let them free in a hostile environment in a capitalist society with nothing. They had nothing. They had no home, no land, no food, no clothes, no friends. Jim Crow segregated, and then prosperous black towns burnt to the ground. So they was always set into a criminal element. People always talk about black criminals. You set free in a capitalistic society with nothing. The criminal element is going to exist. And then you got police, you got all these cops and CEOs and judges and lawyers making money off the criminal element. Poverty is handed down from parent to child, parent to child, parent to child. Wealth is handed down parent to child, parent to child. And then like those Europeans that come from other war-torn countries, their poverty was put on them by their country. Their poverty was not put on them by America. So it's disingenuous that they're allowed to come to America and they're placed in front of black people to correct their poverty. And then when they make money, they send their money home. A lot of these immigrants come to America and set up businesses in black neighborhoods. So black neighborhoods are like a bucket with a bunch of holes in it. The money don't circulate. The money don't go from one black hand to another black hand to another black hand. The money goes from a black hand to an Arab, and then back to Saudi Arabia somewhere. From a black hand to an Asian hand, and back to Tokyo or some shit like that. You got all these immigrants coming to America. Their poverty was put on them by their country. Their poverty was not put on them by America. But you got black people in America whose poverty was put on by them. We don't have, black Americans don't have another country to go to correct their poverty. That's why when I know I'm going off the subject, but that's why these terms, people of color, colored people, minority, urban, ethnic, inner city, all those poor people, brown people, all those are jaded and ambiguous terms because that can be anybody. That can be anybody. That's why when you be seeing these guys on YouTube and TikTok talking about we not black. Calling yourself black is very specific. It's very specific. Black is very specific. People of color can be anybody. Hispanics are considered people of color. Asians are considered people of color. Arabs are considered people of color. They're considered brown people. So when you see things that say black and brown, that lets you know you're about to be shamed. We're here to help black and brown people. We're here to help black and people of color. We're here to help black and brown people, black and inner city. That could be anybody. Black is very specific. That's why. I can go on and on about this, but that's why. And like I was saying, I don't know where black people own slaves. I don't know. It just ain't in a black person's heart. I don't see it happening. All right, y'all, let me go. I got to pay attention to the road. This is always a tricky part of the road right here. These cars be going mad slow. Made it. All right. All right, y'all, take it easy. What's up, everybody? Like always, pushing my book, corner stores in the middle of the block. Don't beat your children or they'll turn out like me. And Agitation Gets the Dirt Out. That's 3 books of poetry, and my hook book is called Pretty Ugly, a Harlem Situation. You can use Cash App to get a copy. $1 #1 Brad Bathgate. Inbox me if you want to know more about them.